we're starting a new season today. This new series is focused on economy, on the economy, on business, on enterprise, on money, literally, and prosperity. First, it's the will of God for every one of us to prosper. That's the first thing about it. And the second part is we all have a seed of greatness that has been deposited inside of us. And that seed, for example, could be an idea, could be a skill, could be a talent. And so my first guest tonight is helping us to identify that idea and help going to teach us how to grow our idea, how to refine our idea, how to bring it to life. He's built one of the biggest indigenous oil company in the history of Nigeria. It was an idea among himself and his friend, and they were able to turn that into a multinational indigenous company in Nigeria. Before I bring to you our guest today, I want to show you this video. Thank you so much for all of you tuning in. Thank you, Rotimi Ataya. Bye. I'm going to show this video and then I'll be right back. Watch this, everyone.
Endless possibilities begin with an insight, then foresight. Tomorrow is built today. That is why Tonye Cole, a visionary and a mastermind, birthed a project, a vision, an institution, the Nehemiah Project.
The theme for the Nehemiah Project was rebuilding lives. I was fortunate to be there through my brother. He just told me, let's go out. Then we got to the hotel where the venue of the program was. And I got in, I saw a lot of celebrities, not knowing it was a program that was going to rebuild my own self.
I remember commenting to someone,
well,
like a builder he is, the Nehemiah Project is reinvigorating the young people and propelling them into a new mindset where they can become who they choose to be.
To the Nehemiah Project team, I would like to say a big thank you for the impact which they have added to my music career.
To the Nehemiah Project team, I'm saying a very big thank you to them. They have made me who I am today.
to the Nehemiah Project team, I want to say a big thank you. Mustn't stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tonye Cole. The future is bright.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Mr. Tonye Cole. Good to see you.
Dayo, where did you dredge that? Where did you
You know I always have my way now.
Wow,
you know I have my way. You trust your boy now.
That took me back. You know, and the funny thing about that video is that just yesterday, I was on an IG live with T.Y. Bello, and I was talking to her about that very same program because Ibidu Igodalo was central to that Nehemiah project, kicking off at Eco Hotel. So just seeing that it just brought back so many memories and emotions.
Memories.
Oh, well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's so good to have you, and I'm so excited that people are already turning up. Good to see all of you. Guys, I'm excited tonight. I have to tell you a story so you can really appreciate my guest tonight. Is a father to me. He's a mentor to me. Is literally one of the very few people that my mother can report me to. Not all just my mom, including my wife.
All the time.
So it's so exciting to have you, sir. And this is it's an inspiring session already, I know in advance. But let me tell you guys a story. It was about maybe almost 10 years ago, or I can't remember how long it was. We just finished the Holy Ghost service convention at the camp in that August. And so I can't remember where I was taken to the airport. I know Tonye remembers the story already now. I was taking someone to the airport. And then So he called me and said, Dayo, and he started saying, I can't remember what he was talking to me about. And I said, oh, where are you? Oh, he said, where am I? And I said, I'm in the airport. I said, where in the airport? And I said, I'm at the departure. And he said, I'm in the airport too. I said, what part are you? And he says, I'm in the executive jet hangar. And so I dropped who I was dropping and I turned back and I drove all the way to the executive jet hangar, waiting in the lounge. As soon as I got there, and I mentioned my name. They allowed me access. I drove up to the hangar. Mr. Cole was there, about to get on a private jet to Rwanda. The trip was to Rwanda at that on that particular journey. Now, let me tell you what was instructive about that experience. He had just left the Redeem camp where he was a member of the team Nehemiah, the leader of the team Nehemiah. He was directing traffic. That same morning, he was directing traffic at the camp, saying, you can't park here, you can't park here. As wealthy as he is, as God has blessed him. And people would shout and say, who are you? They would scream at him and they would talk to him anyhow. And, he's just doing his job and just serving God and just cleaning the auditorium. And in the afternoon, after that same morning when we had finished cleaning the camp and doing all the Team Nehemiah work, he was on a private jet out of Nigeria to do some business with the president of Rwanda. And that day I saw that when you serve God, your goal is not about yourself, but about the vision that God has given to your heart. And so tonight I have somebody I have very great respect for, who shows me how to serve God irrespective of whatever I can ever achieve in life. And I'm sure that all of us are going to be blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Mr. Chief Pastor Tonye Patrick Cole, the co-founder of Sahara Energy, the gubernatorial candidate of the APC in the last River State election. By the grace of God, with the help of God and humanity, the next governor of River State, by the grace of the Almighty, Tonye Patrick Cole. So tonight we're talking business, we're talking economy. You have the flow. How do we identify our idea? How do we refine it? How do we make something out of it? And where does grit come into play? And that grit really struck me when I looked at your experience in the political space. You came out of nowhere. To run in River State is no joke. It takes grit. So we wanted to share some of those experiences that you also learned in the journey and how they've been helpful for you, how if you had to do any other business, what you have learned for that is applicable for business. Please go ahead, sir.
So Dayo, one of the things that you would find in this entire journey, regardless of what type of business you're in, regardless of what your idea is, regardless of whether you're going for public office or you're in a private office, regardless of what it is, every single thing begins and stands on character. Who are you? Who are you? Do you know yourself? Because you see, if you don't know yourself, if you are removed from the private sector and you go into government, you will scatter everything. You will be a mess. If you are in private business and you are given opportunities to do anything and all of that, your integrity will scatter because you don't know yourself. So the first aspect of all of this journey is, who are you? How and what type of person are you? Where does your integrity stand? You see, integrity is an important thing. Leadership qualities begin and end with character. Are there things that you will just not do? Do you have boundaries that you would not cross? So let us start from the very, very beginning. There's nothing that you're going to start, no matter how much you dream about it, that is not going to start small. If you are not disciplined enough to start and grow something from small and grow it step by step, it's going to crash. It doesn't matter what, it will crash. And so those are some of the principles. Everything in life today, spent well over 30 years in private sector, starting first from school, When I started doing some small business in university, worked as an architect, came out, then set up Sahara, 23 years, and then left. Now, that entire journey in itself was a journey of growth, step by step. Coming out and going into the political terrain also meant that I was coming into a terrain that I now began and I now needed to learn step by step. And that's what I'm doing. So, as you know, right now, I've gone back into school, Oxford, studying transformational leadership in Oxford. And why? Because there's an awareness within me that you must learn these things, you must learn the ropes, you must grow and equip yourself with the tools that you need, even in politics as you did in business. And so that's where we are.
That's awesome. So what would you consider the process to betting your idea, to turning your idea into reality?
Absolutely. Good question. So first and foremost, always know that you're going to have many ideas. If you think that all you're going to have is one idea, then that's not how life is. You will have many ideas. Now, the first thing that you have to do is that those ideas, you need to test it. And the best way of testing your ideas and all of that is first find people, find mentors, find people who you can talk to, who you can throw those ideas out and speak about the ideas. Now, many people that you're going to speak about your ideas are going to tell you that your idea doesn't work. Okay. Now, instead of you getting upset about them saying that, oh, this idea does not work and all of that, no, what you should be doing is taking it and saying that, okay, if they say it can't work, then you ask why. They will tell you all the reasons why it can't work. People are so negative. They will tell you, oh, it can't work because of this. Nigeria is full of corruption. Is this, the laws don't work. You need to have a godfather. You need to have this, that. They will tell you all those things. Now you sit down and make a question to yourself that, okay, now how can I turn all these negative things that they've said to positives? How can I turn it around? If they say that it cannot work because of this, what do I need to do to now make it work in spite of that? You see, once you have that mindset that begins to take every single thing and turn it around in a different way, then you're already in the path of success. You're on the path of success. Do not run away from people telling you that, oh, this does not work, this does not. Don't run away from it. Collect it, but know yourself. Remember, I started by saying that you must first know yourself. What does knowing your character? What does knowing yourself mean? At the end of the day, it's your ability to trust that you have what it takes to make it succeed. But you are also able to swallow the negative words that people bring your way and then turn it around to create something positive out of it. So mindset is very important, Dayo. Mindset is very important.
So I know that the Sahara began with an idea. You and another friend came together and said, let us start an indigenous company. And then at the stage, you began to look at it and talk about a company that can even rival and compete with the multinational, where they are trading, where people are scared to trade. Can you take us through the process of what happened? You know, how did you guys come together? How did you build your team? How did you even think that the idea was possible? What were the challenges that you faced? Did people look down on you and tell you that it was impossible? How did you overcome the local challenges and limitations in Nigeria, you know, to your idea that was novel at that time?
Okay, so do you have about 10 years for me to go through all of this, or I must do everything?
We have 30 minutes for that.
Okay, look, anyway, the good thing is a lot of these questions I've answered so many times that you will find it on any of the questions on leadership and Sahara. But I think what I would pick out from all the questions you asked, what are the key things that we had to take at the beginning of all of this? One of the first things in that decision was that in making a decision that we were going to go with Sahara, we had to cut out everything else. So we couldn't afford to fail. We had to take a look and say that this is where we're going and be just focused on ensuring that you succeed. So one of the things that you must do if you're going to start a business is that the minute you say that this is what you want to do, please focus on it. Just focus and make it work. Be sure that it's going to be hard work. There are days that you are not going to find food to eat. It's okay. The day you step out and say that you are going to set up your own business, then your food ratio, if you used to be 111, it becomes 001. If you used to be 101, it becomes 101. If you know what that means, it means that you are going to cut out 3 square meals a day, and you're going to decide on one. You're going to cut down a lot of your expenses, and you're going to do a lot of work that you have to do. Are people going to say, the people say to us that yes, it's not going to work? Absolutely. So what did that do for us? And the first aspect of it is that we heard over and over at the beginning that this is a business that is a loss-making business. Nobody makes money in it. It is a loss-making business. Yet, it's been a loss-making business that only white people were doing, had been doing it for 20 years running, since the 70s till when we started in 1996. So if somebody has been making a loss for 20 years, there must be something to it. So we refuse to hear that negativity about it being a loss-making business, because we believe that there must be something that we are not seeing. So they were declaring losses. If you go through their books and all of that, the books for Nigeria was negative. Always they said negative business, but they had been there for 20 years. Told us that there was something in there. The second aspect of it was that we started to hear that Nigerians cannot do this business. Anything that has to do with Nigerians, you cannot do it. So we said, if you are saying that Nigerians cannot do this business, why? They said that, we don't have the smarts, we don't have the ability, we're not intelligent enough to do it. Say, okay. So now we have to prove that we are more than intelligent. There was something that we carried for a long time on as one of our banners that said, impossible is nothing. Okay, which meant that we refused to listen to impossibility. Everything we believe that once you can see it in your mind and you can think it, it becomes possible. And so you follow the possibility of it. So we refuse to, we used to refuse, and we still do, refuse to allow impossibility to hit you. Now, and what else were the, so what kind of idea? So again, coming together, we came together. There were 3 of us, 3 partners that came together to set up Sarah. So it wasn't just one person; it was 3 of us, and all of those things that came about from an opportunity that had arisen at that time, purely because they said, "No Nigerian can do this. It is not possible. There are no Nigerians doing it." Anybody who was in the oil business back then owned a petrol station. And that was where they were comfortable. Petrol station ownership was the most comfortable level for anyone in the oil business back then. And we chose not to be the same. We chose to be different. So just choose to be different.
I wanted to ask, you had gone for many international training. You're currently at Oxford right now. What are the top 5 things that you've learned in business in terms of building your idea, in terms of turning them into reality, achieving success, that you have never, and people would never be taught in the business school?
That you have not been taught in the business school. Okay.
Like so, the reality will eat you. They never told you in class, but you saw it, in particular doing business in Nigeria.
So I guess the first thing that I would say, right, is that relationships and how you build your networks matter. Now, respect everybody, every single person. In Nigeria, one of the first thing that we used to teach back then, and I still teach now, is that the gate man is the most important person in the office. If you're a business person, the gate man, your relationship with the gate man is most important. A gate man can frustrate you. A gate man can stop you from seeing the MD. A gate man can keep you out there. And if you cannot pass, I used to tell my staff back then that if you have not been able to learn the skill, right, of entering into an office where you have no appointment, you just go to that office and you need to see the MD. If you have not learned how to pass the gate, you can never see the MD, you can never succeed. So the first thing in Nigeria, for me, that I learned a long time ago, is that the gate man is one of the most important. After the gate man is the driver of the MD. Very important.
I need to write this here.
The gate man, the driver of the MD, and then the clerks in the office. These are vital information gathering positions, and all they require is that you treat them and you respect them as human beings. Don't talk down to them. Don't dismiss them. Don't treat them as if they are not important. If you treat them as they are not important, you're not getting anywhere. So that's first aspect of it on relationships. Very, very important. Get to know people across the bottom line. The second thing that I took out from there is that money is not everything. Okay. One of the things that they teach you in Nigeria is all about the money. You must get the money, fake it till you reach it. Do the no. I discovered very, very, very early that your integrity and trust are critical. Say what you can do. Say what you cannot do. Stand on your ability to let people know who you are. Number two, you will find out that is something that will pay you off every single place that you go. That's number two business skill that we learned here. Number three was that the same amount of effort that it takes for you to pursue a 1 million naira job is the same amount of effort it's going to take for you to pursue a 1 billion naira job. The same amount of effort, which means that it's something that the Bible says that whatsoever you find your hands to do it very well, be diligent in it. We found out that the same amount of effort. So if I was going to do something that was a small job, right, I would put exactly the same amount of effort as if I'm doing a very big job. But where was this critical and what did it mean? It meant that you were able to choose what you were going to do because you knew that if you put in the right effort, you will get it for the big jobs as well. So number three was that we're diligent. You have to be diligent across board, regardless of whether it's small or whether it's big. You can pursue that and pursue everything that you are going to go. Number four, one of the things that we saw straight off was that the money that you need to start, you're not going to get it from any bank and all of those things. Forget it. If you go and start knocking at the banks when you're small, when you're just starting from day one, it's not going to come. Which means that you must be able to tap in the resources that you find around you in anything that you're going to start, no matter how big it is, no matter how crazy it is, no matter how wide it is, and all of that. Well, I found out that start your own. Today you are chasing the banks. A time will come when the banks begin to chase you. A time will come when you are sitting down and they come looking for you. The fifth thing that came out very, 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 very clear for us was that humility mattered a lot. In other words, whatever you have, right? How did my partner used to say it? If you have 10, make sure that you make people believe that you have one by your ability. But for goodness sake, have 100. If you have 10, live a lifestyle that is one, that is dependent on one. But in your reserve, have 100. Okay, that mindset for me made a big difference for us.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you stopped speaking. So I'm going to go into another segment of the lesson. First, I want to talk about bravery, courage, and grit. What role does courage, bravery, and grit play in business success and goal actualization? And if you can also give us one or two experiences of where you have had to apply this, skills in achieving big goals, like going for something big.
Okay, so absolutely, they all work a great deal. So now chasing deals and transactions back in the day and today, what does bravery do? First of all, we started young. So the first thing that you would see in our faces back then, whether these were small boys, young 27, 28-year-old boys, and you are coming and you are speaking about deals and transactions that are in the millions of dollars. It means that not only did you need to know yourself, right? You had to have the gumption to get up and walk into places that nobody would expect. So we would get a transaction, for example, and I remember certain occasions where maybe I'll give two examples. So you get a transaction, you will get a message that this deal, this transaction, this document is ready for approval and all of that. And you needed to find somebody in Zamfara State. Zamfara didn't exist then, but let's just take it in mind that Zamfara State. You will get up and go to Zamfara. You will walk into the house of the man who you know has that authorization to sign. You are walking in there. It does not matter the time. It does not matter the danger that it takes to get there. You must get there. I will tell you one transaction. When I was 20, I think I was 25 or 26.
Can you move your face here? I'm looking at the output on Instagram, and your face is
this
in the
way?
video. Yes. Let me see.
Are you
yes, I think so. I think that should do it. Yes, I think that should do it.
Okay.
That's what the Instagram is coming out with.
Okay. Hopefully it should do it. Yeah. Okay. It's got right. Okay. So I remember being we had a bid to submit. So then I was working in this Brazilian company. So talking about grit and so I was director of operations, and there was a strike at the airport. We had a bid to submit at the time. I drove to the airport to go to Yola to submit the bid. It was a African Development Bank bid. When we got to the airport, the workers, what are they called? Air control staff, they were on strike. So planes could not take off. Okay. Now I got to the airport maybe about 12 o'clock. Now I had a decision to make. I had an international company. We were meant to submit a bid. We had done everything that we needed to do. The bid was ready. Everything was in my car. I was going to submit it. Now, I had a choice to make. The choice was pick up my phone, call them back and say, look, there's a strike here. We can't go. I'm sorry about it. It's not my fault. After all, it's not my fault. Or I get to Yola, Lagos to Yola. I just said to my driver that we're going to Yola. I already had my clothes in the car because I was traveling. We went to his house. We picked up his clothes, right? We needed to be in Yola the next morning by 12 o'clock. It meant that we had to drive non-stop. He would drive, I would drive. He would drive, I would drive. He would drive, I would drive. We left Lagos. We arrived in Yola, right? At the bid was closing by 2 o'clock. We arrived in Yola to submit that bid by 1:30 or thereabouts, 30 minutes to the close of that bid. We submitted the bid. We had driven for 16 hours non-stop. 16 hours non-stop to get there. We got in, submitted that bid, and guess what happened? We won the bid. By the time I got to Yola, thinking that they will postpone the bid and nobody will submit. I got to Yola and I found that people had driven from Makurdi. People were submitting from different areas. It was a World Bank bid and they had come. But I was the only one that came from Lagos. I was the one that had come the furthest. So when it comes to bravery, when it comes to a determination that you must do something and you must get there, that was grit. You don't allow obstacles to stop you. You know what you are doing. You know where you are going. You know why you are going there, and you do it. And that's how it worked for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tonye Cole. I want to digress a little bit, but it's also, we're going to learn some business lessons from it. And that's from your political experience. We can consider your political aspiration as an idea that, or a business for somebody else. You wanted to become governor, you wanted to touch people's life, you wanted to do something. It was an idea. But unfortunately, it met a brick wall at that time. And by the grace of God, we know you're the next governor. But at that time, it could be considered as a failure, the fact that you couldn't progress to the general election. How do you handle failure or disappointment when you have a big idea, you have the best of that, and you've done your best? How do you manage failure or challenges? And even when you were at Sahara, did you have some challenges of what you consider disappointment or failures? And how do young entrepreneurs, young leaders, and startup manage disappointment and failure? Big dream, done all the work, done the presentation, but it just didn't work out. How do you manage those things?
Okay, so I believe a couple of years ago, I got interviewed by Forbes magazine, and I was on the cover of Forbes. And one of the things, I think the title of that Forbes magazine, the cover title was "I learned a lot from failure." Okay, failure teaches you lessons that are beyond belief. If there's anything that you should never be afraid of, either as an entrepreneur or a politician, is failure. If you are afraid of failure, you can't grow. If you are afraid of failure, you cannot progress. If you are afraid of failure, you will never take on mountains. You will not go into battle. If you are afraid of failure, there's the big things that you must do in life you will not do. You will be a coward. Cowards are the ones that are afraid of failure. You can never and must never be afraid of failure. Number two, failure in itself is just a stepping stone. It's an opportunity for you to recalibrate and move forward. Politics for me was I never considered it as a failure. Never. I didn't consider this journey as a failure. Instead, what I considered it as was a very necessary learning experience moving forward. And what are some of the things I learned in politics going in? The one aspect, number one, I learned so much about the role that institutions play in political determination in Nigeria. For example, I saw with my eyes the role of the judiciary, something that I never ever expected to be so central in political decisions in Nigeria. And yet I saw it. I saw it wholeheartedly. I saw the role of them. I saw the role of how I participated in elections. I saw what NYSC would do. I saw that institutions at a very central point is key. I also saw with my eyes that many people are neglected. Many people in politics, the grassroots, the people themselves, the people that matter are neglected completely. Many politicians don't care about them. It's a lot of lip service, but very little to do with who they are. And that for me was a critical lesson, because I went step by step, word by word, to interview and see what people were doing. And that for me was a great lesson. It was something that touched me very, very deeply. I saw also that in this journey and all of that, one of the things that you must be able to do is know that there is no institution in Nigeria that awards you or gives you the ability to impact as many lives with one decision as government does. So if you're going to make a difference and you want to make a difference across base widely and all of that, then government provides you that. So for me, I don't consider failure as something that you should be afraid of. I think it's something that you should embrace. It's something that you are aware of, that it must come. I can't remember whether it was Edison or so. I think it's one of the famous quotes about Edison and the light bulb, that he never considered, they say he failed 99 times before he discovered the light bulb at the 100th time. And he says no, that it was just 99 experiences or 99 steps that he took for the one success that he made. And that for me is the same way. That's the way I see it. Just step after step until you get to success.
So let's go back to business. A lot of people who are watching this or who are going to watch the video later are going to be interested in doing business. But people do business for two reasons. One, of course, to solve a need. Another is to make impact. But the overall goal of every business is to be profitable. how do we become, or how do one become profitable? How do you turn your ideas into profit? How can you turn your idea to become profitable?
Okay, so the
What's
first
the
aspect of it.
profitability secret?
No, good question. So the first aspect of it is that you must ask yourself, when you are doing a business and you're going into the business, that are you doing it for yourself? Or are you doing it for others? Are you doing it to please yourself? Are you doing it to serve others? Now, if you're doing it to please yourself, then I can assure you that there will be very, very, very little profit in it. Very little. In fact, most of the times it will be an abysmal failure if you are doing it to please yourself. If you are doing it because you are trying to provide a service and meet a need for others, even if that need is not needed for you, but you are meeting a need for others, then you are already on your way to success. So the first aspect of any business that you must do is that, is it meeting a need? Now, whose need is it meeting? If it's meeting only your need, then there's no profit in it, only your need. But the more people to whom you provide that service and that need for, the greater your ability to make a profit. So your business idea, right, should be number one, whose need am I meeting? If you create business that is out there to make life better for somebody else, then you're already on your way to profit.
Excellent. Risk as well is a very, it's a twin brother of every idea. It comes with a risk. What is your risk management strategy?
Okay, so every business has risk. You already said so. But there's stupid risk and there's calculated risk. Taking risk for taking risk for the sake of taking risk, and just say, I'm a risk taker, let me just go and take the risk, will end up putting you in trouble over and over and over again. So one of the things that you need to do, even when you're taking risk, and because you do business, stepping into politics was a risk for me. As soon as I decided that I was going to, but it was a calculated risk, and it's a risk that I took, saying that, is it something that I can do? Is it something I can survive in? I knew that once I was going to step out, one of the risks was that I was going to have to leave Sahara, and that if I went into government, if I went into politics, I can't come back into Sahara. So it was something that I had to take. It was a decision I had to make, and the minute I took that decision, I knew that it had to pay off. So calculated, if I'm moving, right, and I'm not coming back into Sahara, how am I going to survive moving forward? What is my focus? Where do I go? What do I look? And so I take a risk, and I say that, you know what, I'm 53. At the time I was 51. So I'm 51 now. I'm taking a calculated risk into government. How long will it take me to make a greater impact in politics than I made in business? A risk. So I had to calculate it, and I had to make sure that, okay, I'm 51, that at least if I'm going to make the kind of transformational change that I believe, it's going to take 20 years. Now, I'm giving myself 20 years of a calculation to make a difference within the political space. That is a risk, and that is calculation. Now, it can only make sense if after 20 years, I look back and I see that I made a greater impact and greater possession than what I did in the preceding 20, 24 years of Sahara. Now, those are risks that you have to weigh. Now, to me, in taking that calculation, I sit down and I say that, you know what? If I apply with the same level of diligence that I used to build a business, I apply the same within politics. 20 years later, I would have done far greater and made a far mightier impact and more meaningful impact in politics and in the lives of people than I did with Sahara. I said, it's a better risk. Now, the risk was this. Imagine that I failed. So that's the risk now. If I fail in politics, right, what is the downside? Oh, okay, you did very well as a business person, right, but you were not able to achieve the same thing in politics. Fine. So that's sad. But imagine, this is the risk. Imagine if I succeed. Now, if I succeed, the upside of success far, 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 far outweighs the downside of failure. By far. So for me, that risk is good. And that's how you calculate risk. What's the upside? If the upside far outweighs the downside of failure, go for it.
Hmm. I have a few more questions, but before I go ahead, I want to specially recognize one of our my people in Subeb. She lost her son exactly a year ago today, and while she's taking the day off resting and not mourning, I'm glad to see her that she's also on the show tonight, watching with us here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we pray that God will bless you and give you grace, that the remaining ones with you would be kings and queens and praises by the grace of God. God bless you.
Amen.
Um, yes, thank you so much. So I want to regulations. Government regulation is another major challenge for entrepreneurs. You'll find the Go Kada story, for example, the motorbike business story, and a few companies invested, and government regulations will come and say, "We want you to change the way that this is done." There's things like that in different sector. That's just the nearest example that I can point to. How do you deal and manage with government regulations when it conflicts with great idea and a large investment? I'm sure you had to deal with a lot of that. The
Plenty.
government changing hands a lot. Can you
Plenty.
share an experience with us? Because people relate more to stories. So if you can have one or two stories and
No
practical,
problem.
and then yeah, or
No problem. And
yes.
that's fine. That's fine. Look, so first and foremost, right, we're in multiple nations. Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, and I can use any one of them as an example, and I'll use it as an example as this. We are talking of regulators, and I'll use it about governments, and let's take Ivory Coast as a good example. So Ivory Coast, we went into government in Ivory Coast. Sorry, went into business in Ivory Coast. A particular government was in power at the time.
Power.
Ivory Coast went into a civil war. Okay.
Wow.
Now, when they were in the civil war, the government that was in power lost. Another government comes in, and that government that comes in, right, takes over. Now think, a civil war. So we're not talking of elections, we're talking of a civil war. Throughout that civil war, we stayed. We didn't go. We were the only, every foreign company that I know that used to supply crude, used to work with them and all of that left. They refused to give them money. They did not, we stayed. Everybody else left. Then this government comes in, and it's a new government, and the government comes into play. Now, what normally happens is that there is usually a clean out. You will wipe everybody off. This one, you were with this government, you were supplying them this, go, and all of that. But we survived through it. Why? What were the secrets of that survival? How did we manage from one government to another, and then another government, then a civil war, and then another government, and then continue? The difference, and the only thing that we did, two things that we did, is that one, we continued to provide value. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening, make sure that the business that you are doing provides value. That value, they cannot and must not be able to take it out. So give value. Throughout that war, we were the only company that ensured that the country remained standing. When they came, they wanted to remove everybody. The next thing, relationships. The people that used to work within the refinery went to the president, the civil servants went to the president and said to them, to the government, said, see these people, these guys, please leave them alone. They were the only ones that stood with us. Leave them alone. Let them continue. The president said, are you serious? Please allow them to stay. It happened in Nigeria. It happened in Ghana. It happened in Ivory Coast. I use Ivory Coast as an example because it was a civil war. In Ghana, one government has come. Opposition government came in. The same government took over from another government, took over from the opposition government that was in. So we've had governments change one after another. What has sustained us? Value and relationship. Value and relationship. Make sure you provide value, and please build relationships. Let your relationships be true, genuine relationships, and let them be relationships across board. Be friends with different people. Just Be really great. Just give yourself to building genuine relationships and providing value for your services.
Work-life balance is also very critical. And for entrepreneurs, when you're trying to build your business, it's not easy to have work-life balance. How did you manage when you were doing private sector? Now in politics, it is even worse. You have party, in particular during the election. I spent 4 years, two elections back to back, and it was crazy. So I understand what it is. How were you able to manage, and how do you manage work-life balance?
I started off very badly. I started off doing everything the wrong way around, which basically believing that all you needed to do was work, just push everything to work 20 hours of the day, forget family and all of that. And it was a mess, complete, total mess. And so what then happened for me specifically was that I retraced my focus and I retraced my steps back to God. Now, once I did that, and I went and surrendered myself again and just said, you know what, God, I'm handing over to you. All of a sudden, certain things started coming into place. The minute I corrected my spiritual standing, work no longer became toil. Work became a tool of worship. Work became a tool where you knew that it became a service. It was no longer toil. Now, the minute it became a service, because I had corrected my spiritual standing and work became a service, all of a sudden, the time that you needed for rest and family became important. So my priorities changed. The priorities that I used to have before was work first, right? Then after work came family, and then after family came my spiritual, whatever I called spiritual health. Bad plan. You want a work-life balance? Change it. So for me, spiritual first came. After spiritual came family. After family came work. After work came my physical health and all of those things. So well-being, and exercise, good eating, taking care of yourself. So once I changed that, Dayo, the balance came in. I believe 100% that if you're going to ever get balance, work-life balance, sort out your spiritual life. If you sort out your spiritual life, everything else is going to fall into play. That's what
I think this is a good place for me to go to the conversation around faith and entrepreneurial success. But before I do that, I want to say a big thank you to the former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, my mommy, Princess Sarah Shoson. Thank you for always tuning in to watch CovInspiration. Yes. Thank you so much for always. Thank you. I see Mr. Sholadu as well, one of His Excellency Mr. Governor's closest confidant. Thank you for tuning in. And to all the special people who tune in, day out, I see Alaji Banire as well, all the great people, and all of you that tune in. We appreciate you for tuning in, day out, every night to hear this conversation. Let's move on quickly to the role of faith. What role has your faith played in your business success? And for entrepreneurs and startup with great ideas, how is the spiritual linkage useful for the business success? In particular, for me, one of the things that have helped me in my business success is the secret of tithing. I'm a diehard tither, and I'm dangerously blessed. I do not joke with my tithe, and that's a spiritual secret that has helped my business success. So, what are your spiritual linkage between your spiritual life and your business success? Please share with us.
Okay. Very awesome question. So first of all, without understanding, I just feel that I have been one of those children of fortune where God has ordered my steps, even when I was rascal and troublesome, because I was. But somehow, when I look back, every step of the way, I have seen God's hand in how He has directed it. So I have no qualms about that. Now, spiritually, like I said, there was a time when my spirit my spirit life was it was the last thing, and I did everything before then. What has happened and what has changed? The first aspect of it was that the minute I totally resurrendered and went in, then service changed. I now began to put the things of God first. And I found out that there was a grace that comes with serving God. And it was something that my pastor said, Pastor Esco, and I don't know, once I heard it, the day I heard it, I believed it. He said, take care of God's business and God will take care of your business. My goodness, Dayo, it has worked 100%. You started off by saying that you see me serving in Team Nehemiah and all of that. That for me is service to God. I do it, whether it's directing traffic, whether it's picking trash in the, I just do it. It's not, for me, it's nothing, but it is pure service to God. It's something that I understand that I'm taking care of his business. And when I take care of his business, what I have found out on the other side is that God has taken care of my business. And there are certain principles to that. When you serve him and you do something for him, trust him that he will do something for you. So what does God do? He opens favors for me. Simple favors. There are people who defend me when I'm not there. There are people who pursue me with things that I never asked for. Why? Because he's there. There's a way that he provides for me, and tithing is something that is critical. Me, I believed in it from day one. I continue doing it. No matter what, I am one of those people that believe. Now, many people, some people don't, some have abused it and all of that. I think at the end of the day, you have your personal conviction. When you understand how it works, if it works for you, excellent. It's worked for me. It works without, even today, I sent my tithes to the bank today, went to pay just today. So I have no problem with those things. They work for me. Now, the next aspect of it is that what is important to God? First, do you believe in God? So if you believe in God and you believe in what they call a senior partner, then your question is that will you do what is important to him? Will you do his will? If you do his will and it's important to him, guess what? He takes care of you. And so for me, Dayo, I don't know any other way. This is the way I have come across it. I've seen him do amazing things in my business, open doors for me. I can't compromise it. It's too far gone.
Thank you so much. Relevance is important. There are very few third generation businesses in Nigeria. How do we stay relevant? How do entrepreneurs with great ideas ensure sustainability and relevance?
Okay. So one of the things that just at every point in time, right, ask yourself a question, 20 years from now, where will you be? 20 years from now, where will your business be? Then push it to another 50 years. I remember maybe a couple of years ago, I called staff in my office. I just called them young people. They were GMTs, graduate management trainees. And I sat down in an office and I said to them, imagine, right, that we travel. 3 of us are in a jet, all partners, and the jet crashes. God forbid, God forbid. I said, hey, don't God forbid anything. Imagine that we are traveling and there's a crash. And we all die, right? Is Sahara going to survive? Is it going to collapse? Now, I want you to do an analysis of what is important. If you take all of us out of the equation, how will the company survive? What are the foundational pillars, right, that will keep the company running if none of us are there? I've been out of the business completely. August 30th will make it 2 years straight. I've not been in. I've not taken one single decision since the day I left. I've not had anything to do with Sahara since I left. It's still running. If two of the other, and why? Because we started putting in all those principles to make it work. One of the things that used to worry us was that every first generation business, almost all of them, the ones that we knew when we were growing up and all of that, they died. As soon as the founder died, he dies. As soon as the founder is gone, he's gone. And we said, no, it can't be. You cannot allow that to happen. You just must not allow it to happen. So ask yourself that question. Where would you be in 20 years? Where would you be in 50 years? When you go out, what is it about the business that continues to thrive? Then the next aspect of it is that you must be willing to disrupt. That is called be destructive to yourself before somebody else destroys your business. So you sit down, you continually question your business, because as soon as you start an idea and you start a business, other people jump in and they come. There's so many businesses that we started that others have come into it, and we've moved on from the business. We don't worry ourselves. As soon as somebody else comes into that business, we move out. But we are moving on because we have already done an analysis of self-destruction of that business long before. And so every time that you're still seeing us there, it was only because we are milking what we could. We've done the business, we've milked it, and we know that as soon as the time is ready for us to move, we've moved.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. One of the biggest challenge of every entrepreneur and every business owner and everyone that want to achieve success is having the right team. Look what happened to the man in New York, the entrepreneur that got murdered some days ago by his personal assistant. They're building the right team is one of the biggest challenges. People in Nigeria, there is a very bad work ethics and work culture among some employers. A lot of employers complain a lot about work ethics of staff and the importance of that for business. What would you say are the best secret to building the right team, hiring the right people, and also engaging the right kind of volunteers?
Okay. So your team is important. That's clear. So the first aspect of it is that you must know. You remember I started off by knowing yourself. Yes. Now, when you know yourself, it means that there's a culture that you have and there's a character that you have that you must imbibe within your workspace. And so we were very clear about something, that we're operating within a larger environment and a larger culture. But it was important that the culture that we have, right, is the predominant culture that goes out. So you almost indoctrinate your people into understanding who they are and birthing in them the belief that they can impact the culture outside and not allow the culture outside to impact them. And when I speak about the culture outside, everybody, you started off saying it, that, oh, there's a bad work ethics in Nigeria. You cannot get the right people. They will do this. All of that are the negative cultures that people give up on, and they use that to affect themselves. We refuse to allow that completely. What we do is that we look and we let you know that you are able, you are not that, you are able to carry out and impact the culture, such that we said to people then, back then, that once you get into an office, until today, if you go to anywhere where we work, you would see people and they will look at them and they will just say, you must work from Sahara, you must work for Sahara. Why? Because there's a culture that they carry. There's a way they carry themselves. There's something about them that reveals that they have a culture and a difference in the larger culture. So essentially, is it important that you are employing the right stuff? Absolutely. One of the things that you must do, and please don't be afraid to do this, employ people that are wiser than you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. We employed young people and they were by far, not small, by far wiser. You see, what a 24-year-old, 25-year-old that we employed in Sahara could do today. When I was 24, I couldn't do it. They are white, which means that by the time they get to 50, they are already doing far more than we ever imagined. I remember taking a look one day. We were sitting down, my partners and I were approaching 40. Yeah, we were approaching 40. And we kind of just looked around, Dayo, and we saw that everybody around us, the average age of all our staff had crept up and we were all getting old. So I looked around, maybe the average age was about 35 or so. Now, because we all started young at 27, 28, imagine that for 10 years, 12 years, we had all grown together. And all of a sudden, you looked around and everybody was old. Where were we back then? We were still at the time when we were still using fax machines. We were still using all sorts of things. But meanwhile, emails had come out, and a young generation was out there. So we made a conscious decision.
And now there's WhatsApp.
Correct. So we made a conscious decision to lower the average age of Sahara, to lower it. And we started employing people who were 21, 22, 23. So we started a program then called the Graduate Management Program that started bringing in a totally new generation of people. And if there's anything that you can give to Sahara's success, it is this group of people that have been coming in over the last 15 years, just coming in, young, and bringing modernity into an ancient business.
Thank you so much. My final question, before I let you go, and if anybody who is watching has a question, please, this is the time to type it so that I can ask on your behalf. But before we take any final questions so that we can go, I know I have to let Mr. Tonye go quickly. What's your approach to marketing? That's very key and very important. What's your approach to marketing? You have great ideas, you need to sell it out there. You need to get people to buy into it. What's your approach to marketing?
Very simple. Yeah, when you're going out, put yourself in the mind of the person that you're going to speak to. It's about them. You are giving them something that they need. You must ensure that you speak to them. It's not about you. It's not about you, never about you. It's about them. So just make sure you satisfy them. Give it to them, serve them. It's all about service. You are there to serve them a purpose. Make sure you serve well.
What are your final thoughts before I let you go?
Well, Dayo, I believe in Nigeria. You know that already. And I believe in the youth of Nigeria. So all I can tell them, and I will keep saying to you, is that there are so many opportunities in Nigeria. It's up to you to discover them, see them, forget what you are hearing. Just stop listening to the news. Just focus on what you are going to do to make Nigeria great. It starts with you, just as it starts with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the CovInspiration Business Series with the team tonight. We've spoken to Mr. Tonye Cole, the co-founder of Sahara Energy, the gubernatorial aspirant of the APC in Rivers State 2019 election, who I consider by the grace of the Almighty God the next governor of Rivers State. Mr. Tonye Patrick Cole, thank you so much for your time and for the insight that you shared with us. We're so grateful. We pray that God will continue to bless you and increase you in Jesus. And thank you to all our viewers as well. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your data that you've used to come and listen to us. And Mr. Tonye Cole, everybody is very grateful. They all say thank you for sharing insight with us. We love you. And you know I love you anyway. So
love you too. God bless you. Have to go join my family.
I'll see you tomorrow. Okay,
All right.
okay. God bless you. Have a great day, everyone.